Hello friends, my name is Abhinay and I have come up with a new video. So this video is quite a long video as it has a lot of content in it. But I request you to please watch it till the end, and if you don't have time at one instant, then watch it part by part at various different times. So the topic of today's video is the history of E equals mc square. So as we all know that E equals mc square is the world's most famous equation, and it has been created or it has been derived by the world's most famous scientist, who is Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein is considered as one of the greatest scientists of human era and the greatest scientist of the 19th century. So let's get started to the main topic. So as we think of E equals mc square, we have a vision of Albert Einstein as old Albert Einstein with long white hairs, but it is not true. The E equals mc square is about an energetic, dynamic, and young Albert Einstein. 100 years ago, a great idea revealed the secrets within the fabric of the universe. It tells the relation between the energy, matter, and light. And the author of this was the youthful Albert Einstein. Many scientists came, worked, and even died to create each part of this equation. So let us start with the first part, which is E. So E stands for energy. So so for energy, there was a person. I just elaborate with the just like story. So there was a lonely person who was the son of a blacksmith, a poor guy, and he worked in a binding company. He used to bind the books. So he used to bind the books, and the books which came for binding, he used to bind them, and he also used to read them. And in this way, he just culminated a passion for science in himself. So so I am actually talking about Michael Faraday. So one of his good customers gave him a ticket of a series of chemists whose name is Humphrey Davis lectures. So a good customer of him gave him a ticket of Humphrey Davis lectures because at that times, the pursuit of science was thought to be was meant to be a matter of gentleman, and the 19th century chemists were the pop stars of their time, and people used to buy tickets to just attend their lectures. So somehow Michael Faraday got to attend the lectures of Humphrey Davy. So Humphrey Davy, who is the inventor of nitrous oxide, which is also known as the laughing gas. So it has all the benefits of alcohol, and also it is used as an anesthetic. So he was a great chemist of 19th century. So Michael Faraday attended all those lectures of Humphrey Davy, and while attending the lectures, he used to make notes that what Humphrey Davy is telling, and then and what and by then and after the series of lectures was over, Michael Faraday just binded those notes and created a book, and he just then went to Sir Humphrey Davy to and showed him the book, that the notes which he has made of the Davy's lectures. So he wanted to work with Davy in matters of physics and chemistry, but Davy rejected that, and he just offered him a post of lab assistant. So, despite this humiliating setback, Michael Faraday accepted the job, and he became the lab assistant at Davis lab. So, um, so at that time, a battery was newly invented. Actually, battery was newly invented, and all sorts of experiments were being done with it. So a Danish physicist showed that whenever we pass a current through a electric wire, and if we place a compass near it, then the needle of the compass deflects at right angles. So it was a very interesting issue, and why it was happening was the question. So the same question was to came to Humphrey Davy's mind, and they also started researching that what exactly is happening. So Michael Faraday also was there, and he just gave an idea that whenever the electricity passes through the wire, then there might be some kind of force which might be emanating from the wire, and which is deflecting the needle, or there might be some kind of that is it that means that there might be some kind of electric force which is emanating outside the wire, and which is deflecting the needle. But Humphrey Davy and all others just laughed and just said that at the University of Cambridge, electricity flows through the wire, not sideways to it. So so Faraday was somewhat disappointed, but again then he started his own research on it. So Faraday was just like Einstein. He used to think about it in terms of pictures. So Faraday was like that. So Faraday, what he did that he positioned, or he placed the compass at different positions around a current carrying wire. So he founded a pattern in the deflection of the needle. So with this, he discovered, or he thought that there might be the some electric lines of force emanating from the wire, and there might also be some magnetic lines of force emanating from the magnet, and the interaction of this is causing the needle of the magnet to deflect. So this was one explanation, that there might be some electric and magnetic lines of forces. So he just thought that if the electric force is affecting the magnetic needle, then could reverse be happen, that if magnet could affect the electric current carrying wire. So he set up an experiment about it, and he just there was one battery which was connected to a wire, and there was a glass in which white glass in which there was liquid, and magnet was placed in between, and the wire was around it. So when the electricity was passed, so the wire started moving around the magnet. So this was a very interesting thing, and this was a very interesting thing, and it just showed up that electricity and magnetism are connected to each other. So a term Faraday gave, that term is electromagnetism, and that experiment was the experiment of the century, because it was actually the invention of the electric motor. So Faraday observed one more thing, that the chemicals in the battery converted into the electricity in the wire, which then combined with the magnet to produce motion in the electric current carrying wire. So what was all behind this? That so he just thought that something is there that is changing from one form to another, and then he discovered energy. So the overarching principle, which connected all these things, was energy, and in this way there was a discovery of energy. So let us come to M. So M stands for mass. So it is the case of when Louis 15 was on the throne of France. So they were all the noblemen, and the royal family was there. They belonged to the royal family, and one of the noblemen was Antoine Lavoisier. The Lavoisier's work was to collect the taxes from the people through oppression, and he was a tax collector. Actually, he was not a scientist, but he had a keen interest in chemistry, in science, and so he performed hundreds of experiments and hundreds of reactions. And what he did that in performing hundreds of reactions, in each reactions he measured the weight of the reactants, and he also measured the weight of the products with great accuracy, with extreme accuracy. And in all the experiments he found that the weight of the products is exactly equal to the weight of the reactants. So he just then called the scientists from the Royal Academy, and they just acknowledged his work. So he actually wanted to tell that in any transformation, in any chemical reaction, none of the matter is lost and none is ever gained. That the connection is a closed system. So this is the famous law of conservation of mass, which was given by Antoine Lavoisier. But during those times, during those times in France, French Revolution was on its way, because the people were frustrated due to the increasing taxes that they had to pay. So during the French Revolution, which started in 1789 in Versailles, so all the noblemen have got their heads cut from the guillotine. All the noblemen. So Lavoisier was also a nobleman, so he also suffered the same fate, and he also get his head cut through the guillotine. So this was his sad ending. So in this way, we have learned the law of conservation of mass. So let us come to light, which is C. So C stands for basically celeritas. So celeritas is the Latin word for swiftness. So as light travels very fast at a speed of 617 million miles per hour, so that's why the C stands for swiftness. So C stands for the velocity of light. So after Sir Humphrey Davy's death, uh, Michael Faraday had become Professor Faraday, and he also used to give lectures. So in the lecture, he uh, he he explained that, or he told that the electric current produces some magnetic lines of forces. The electric current produces magnetic lines of forces, and magnet can also produce electricity. So he thought that there are magnetic lines of forcing emanating from current carrying wire, and electric lines of forces emanating from uh, moving magnet. So these were all the lines of force, and he also stated that these lines of forces, these vibrating lines of forces, also come from the sun. So everyone just laughed and say what kind of shit he's saying. So as he didn't have the advanced mathematical knowledge to explain the phenomena mathematically, so till 15 years Faraday struggled to explain the people to so that they accept that light is an electromagnetic wave, but no one believed in it. So after 15 years, there was a scientist whose name was James Clerk Maxwell. He believed in Faraday's ideas, and he also had the modern advanced mathematical skills. So he and Michael Faraday became close friends. So what he did, he started doing mathematical calculations, and with four laws, with just four laws. The four laws were Ampere's law for electricity. Gauss's law for electricity, Gauss's law for magnetism, Ampere's law. and Ampere's law for electricity, Ampere's law for magnetism. So these were the four laws. So from these four laws, he he just created from these four laws. He just actually calculated the speed of electromagnetic waves. So from this he calculated the speed of electromagnetic waves, and there was no involvement of relativity in that relativistic velocity when he was calculating that speed. So so he said to Faraday that actually the electric when electricity when electricity is passed through the wire, then it produces some magnetism, and when magnet is there, magnet is moved, then it produces magnet is moved, then it produces some kind of electricity. So this this kind of electric electric field lines and magnetic field lines, when they just form the waves by combining themselves, so it is just like a never ending braid. So the so he said that this conversion of electricity into magnetism and magnetism into electricity consistently and continuously can only happen at a particular speed. And that speed, that because all the formulas and all the derivations come just to at one number, and that number is 617 million miles an hour, and that's the speed of light. It means that light is an electromagnetic wave. It means that Faraday was correct 15 years ago. But but as he didn't had the advanced mathematical skills, so he could not explain it. So the credit goes to Maxwell for the discovery of electromagnetic waves. So in this way, electromagnetic waves were in this way it was proved that light is an electromagnetic wave. And Einstein always pursued light. Since the age of 16, he had a great obsession to study light. Actually, we come to know this from his diaries and all that. And and so so with this, now there comes the till Einstein's time, uh, the energy was discovered, and all forms of energy have been discovered, and it was also discovered that energy can be converted from one form to another. Energy can be converted from one form to another, but it was not actually true, because Einstein was going to prove them false. He was going to find the vast reserves of energy deep inside the heart of the matter, which which any other scientist had never thought, because energy and matter are two different things, two completely different things. So how could they be related? So that's why. So he was going to do that. That energy and mass are connected by the square of the velocity of light in vacuum. So he was going to do that. So one more part remains in the equation. E is over, M is over, C is over, and one last part, which is the everyday process of squaring, that is C square. So the story starts that there was a girl of 16 years whose name was Amélie du Châtelet. She was the daughter of one of King Louis XIV courtiers. So during those times in France, women were not allowed to publish on scientific works or do research or do study. So at that time, but she had a keen interest in science and mathematics. So um, so at the age of 19, she got married with three kids. She got married with a general in army, and with him she had three kids. and at the age of 23, she developed advanced mathematics, and also for a brief time, she took lessons from a very famous mathematician, Pierre Pitre. So, and there was a brief affair. Also, there was a brief affair with them. After then, the Pierre Pitre left, and then then she had an affair with Voltaire. So who was Voltaire? So Voltaire was one of the France's greatest poets, and one of the political philosopher who uh, who caused, or due to which due to which the French Revolution was started, and he went to jail for 2 years, 2 years also. So Emily de Chatterley also had a brief affair with Voltaire. So and and one day, so at one day, she actually, Emily de Chatterley had followed Newton. She had learned the Newton's works. So and one day, a Danish scientist was performing an experiment uh, under the observation of Emily de Chatterley. So what was that experiment? That experiment was that when there was a lead ball and there was a clay, a flat clay, which could be easily so that which could easily be dropped down. So a flat clay, and what the scientist did, that he dropped the ball from one height, that lead ball from one height, and that lead ball got embedded in the clay to some extent, so to some depth, and then he again dropped the same ball from double the height of the previous one, and then the ball got embedded inside the clay to some another depth. So according to Newton, the energy of a system, the energy of an object, or the forces which with it would collide, with which it would collide, would simply be the mass times the velocity. But it was found that if it is a linear connection, then if it is a linear connection, then the two depths should be the one depth should be the double of another, because the height was doubled. But it was found that the second depth was four times the depth of the first depth. So, by performing many such experiments, it was found that Newton was wrong, that energy of a body is a function of the velocity, rather than the energy of a body is a function of the square of the velocity of body, a moving body. So, Emilio Saturday discovered that energy of any moving body is the function of square of the velocity of that body. So in this way, c square was done. So E equals mc square was done. Uh, we have completed all the parts of the equations. So now let us come to some another story, that the proof of E equals mc square, which I would be telling you. So in Germany, in Germany during those days, in 1905 was a miracle year in physics, and also for Albert Einstein, because in 1905 Albert Einstein published five papers. In the first paper was about how the atoms move through, how do the atoms move through, and how to work on the motion of atoms. The first paper was about that, and the second paper was about the nature of light, for which Albert Einstein got the Nobel Prize. The third paper was about how the molecules react when heated, and the fourth paper and the fourth paper was about how do the molecules no, sorry, the first paper was about how the molecules how to uh, work on the um, how to work on the motion of molecules. And the uh, second paper was about basically the nature of light, the particle nature of light, the photonic nature of light, for which Albert Einstein got the Nobel Prize. And the third uh, paper was about how molecules behave when they are heated. The fourth paper was about the space time and the researches on the space time and the gravity, which is also known as the special theory of relativity. And the fifth paper was the most important one, in which in just 3 pages he derived the equation of mass energy equivalence, which is E equals mc squared. That is, energy and mass are related by the square of the velocity of light in vacuum. So after that, it was all just theoretical. There were no proofs of it, that how energy could convert into mass, and how mass could convert it into energy. They were all theoretical and mathematically proved, but there was no any practical explanation of it. There was no any practical done of it. It was never found that any case found where energy is converting into mass, or whether mass is converting into energy. So it's a story that in 1907, a lady, or you can say a young girl, whose name was Lisa Meitner. So Lisa Meitner, she came to the University of Berlin to study, because at that time women were not allowed to study or do research in Germany. But she was the only one who somehow managed to come to the University of Berlin to study and to do research. So no professors were talking to her, as she was a lady, and no one was talking to her. So, and also she was painfully shy, so no one was talking to her. But one professor talked to her, and they become good friends. And the name of that professor was Otto Hahn. So they both started working together on radioactivity, which was a newly evolved field. Actually, Lisa Meitner had came to the University of Berlin to study radioactivity only, which was a very newly evolved field. That it already was it was known already that a nucleus that an atom consists of a nucleus, and there are electrons revolving around it, just like the planetary system and the sun, just like it. But later on, it was found that the nucleus itself consisted of particles, which were neutrons and protons. So it was found that some elements some elements are unstable, and uh, they just emit energies and particles intermittently. So these kinds of elements were known as radioactive elements. So they studied radioactivity. So one of their main aim was that to actually to create the largest atom at that time was of the element uranium 238. So that atom consisted of 238 atoms, 238 neutrons and protons. So the work was that the aim was that the that to create the to create a larger atom than this atom. So what would be the way to create a larger atom than this atom? So they just started. It was one idea that to bombard the neutrons to the nucleus of uranium, so that the neutron might stick to the uranium nucleus, and a bigger atom might be formed. So it was thought by Lisa Meitner and Otto Hahn. So, but in the in the 1920s and in the 1930s, the Nazis came, and the Hitler declared himself the Chancellor of Germany, and all the Jewish people were killed, and all all was just all the Jewish people were killed, and all was a very bad scene. And but after some years, Germany had also annexed Austria, as Lisa Meitner was of Austria. She was Austrian, and she was also Jewish. So due to this, he also started killing people of Austria who were Jewish. So due to this, she had to leave Germany and go to England. So, but they used to communicate. Otto Hahn and Lisa Meitner used to communicate through letters. So one time came when the experiment was done, and when the experiment was done by Otto Hahn in Germany. So what happened, that he saw that when the nucleus of uranium was bombarded with neutrons, he saw that the barium atoms are being formed. The barium atoms are being seen, which is a very smaller nucleus, which had a very smaller nucleus than uranium atom. So barium atoms were seen. So he wrote the letter to Lisa Meitner that when I am bombarding the neutrons to uranium 238 atom at nucleus, then the barium atoms are being seen. So how it is possible? Sorry, the radium atoms are being seen. So how it is possible? So she told him to another to do the experiment one more time. So after when you perform the second time experiment, there were barium atoms found, which is even smaller than radium. So how it is possible that some smaller nucleus is being formed from bigger nucleus? So it was thought that might be when the bombardment of neutrons is done to the heavy nucleus atom, so might be the atom becomes too heavy, and it splits up into two different nucleus of two different elements. It was a guess, because and it was also found that with this, the masses of the barium atoms, if we calculate by Otto Hahn, it was also found that the masses of the barium atoms were less than the actual mass of the uranium atom, which was split by one fifth the mass of the proton. So it means that some of the mass has been lost, but it was also seen that some of the energy was released, and the energy released was 200 million electron volts. So so an idea came to the mind of Lisa Meitner of E equals mc square. So when she multiplied the mass of one fifth of the proton to the square of the velocity of light, then exactly 200 million electron volts of energy was released released was calculated, was was the final answer of it. So it really means that it really proves the Einstein's E equals mc square, that the mass in the that the mass can be converted into energy, and energy can also be converted into mass. So at that time, it was actually the credit goes to Lisa Meitner, but the Otto Hahn were under pressure, and the Nazis have set them to to keep the name of Lisa Meitner behind the story, not to mention her name. And so the Otto Hahn won the Nobel Prize for the what this is called as nuclear fission. The name was given to this phenomenon was nuclear fission. So the Nobel Prize was given to Otto Hahn, but the actual credit was of Lisa Meitner. But due to the Nazis, the Nazis, Otto Hahn was under pressure and he had to keep the name of Lisa Meitner out. So, but in his Nobel Prize lecture, he deeply mentioned the name and work of Lisa Meitner. So, in this way, E equals mc square was proved that matter has actually been converted into energy, which Albert Einstein told much earlier. So, see, this is the history of every part of the equation, every part of the equation of E equals mc square, and and how they are related, and how the energy is converted into matter and all that. So, with this, guys, I end up my video. It's quite a long time. It's quite been a long time. So I end up my video here, and it's a quite long video, but it's quite interesting also. I think it's quite interesting. At least to me, it seems to be interesting. So kindly watch the video till the end, and please like the video and subscribe my channel, and also please tell your friends and family members to watch and like the video and subscribe my channel. So we will meet in next video. Till then, bye bye.